Wise Woman by Caroline Wagner. Good news! She's dead! The Witch of the West is dead! Roared the little rich boy, running through all the streets as I carried myself to the forest. I knew this day would come. My mom warned me of this day, when the rich would get their way and leave the rest to suffer. I have prepared for this day my entire life. My journey begins today. But for some reason, I don't want to follow in the footsteps of all my ancestors and have my daughter waiting for me to die to take over my role. I come from a long line of peaceful farmers who grew corn off the beautiful fertile land and raised sheep. Until, suddenly, one day, the greedy king decided he needed slaves to work for his perfect citizens, so he captured us. So now my time has come to make a change for the poor. However, for right now my duties begin as the new wise woman of the West, which means I am the new doctor for the lower class. Once we were captured, my people and I quickly realized that we were two very different classes of people, with their own cultures, beliefs, and religion, and knew the captures weren't going to help us survive over time. In order to survive, we adapted to this new lifestyle by recreating everything. The women were always making food and experimenting with different combinations of things. Therefore, they were in charge of making the medicine. One of my ancestors stepped up and became the new doctor for our people, and that tradition has been passed down from generations all the way to me. I strolled all the way into the forest where no one went to create my medicine. I mixed up some herbs and sat from the trees like I was taught to do. On my way home, I heard an awful growling noise approaching me. I turned around, and it was a young man coughing and screeching. He couldn't breathe and fell to the ground, grasping his chest. He startled me, and when I turned, I dropped my medicine bag and everything spilled out. I approached him slowly, but did not recognize him, and he definitely wasn't one of my people. He was dressed in exquisite clothing, with silver and gold dangling all around him, but since this is my first true patient since becoming the new wise woman, he was a good person for me to practice on. I scrambled and picked up everything in sight, the leaves, cockroaches, bark, and who knows what else went into my container, and I shoved it in his mouth. He closed his eyes and shivered briefly, and his body went limp. I thought the combination of things I gave him must have been poisonous. I thought my first encounter was unsuccessful and kept walking, so no one thought I was the one who killed him. I decided I had enough walking for the day and settled down to sleep underneath the thick pine trees in the forest. The next morning when I woke up, hundreds of people surrounded me, congratulating me and thanking me. I had no idea what was happening, but decided to just go with it. After a few minutes of confusion, the king walked up to me and shook my hand. Now I was really confused. He thanked me for saving his son's life and announced my position as the new head doctor for the upper class. I didn't really think the king knew what he was doing, but I gladly accepted the position. I guess this would be the way I'd changed my life for the better and created a better world for all my descendants. No longer would I be poor and living in fear of my life. I was living big. Everyone worshipped me and I had no care in the world. Later that week, I went to a ball to celebrate my new position as head doctor. I danced and pretended I knew what I was doing when people asked me medical questions. The wealthy doctors had years of education and many resources that I never knew existed. I was completely lost in their deep intellectual discussion, but realized I could always go back to my original life if this didn't work out and bring the knowledge back to my people. My big event of the night was diagnosing someone with a broken rib from her corset, and all the citizens thought I was a god. As I was leaving, I heard the same wheezing, coughing noise outside in the distance that I heard in the forest and decided I would try one of my performances again. As I walked up, I realized it was my best friend. I ran over to her, but it was too late. Then I heard the king scream, "Take one more step and you are done." I heard murmurs like traitor and witch, but ignored them all and tried everything to help my friend, but it was no use. She had passed away. Her last breath of air sounded like, "We need you back in the village." I wiped my tears from my eyes and was just sitting there in disbelief when the king and all the citizens ran up to me chanting, She's a traitor. I walked away furious that I could help the rich, but I couldn't help my people. I walked back to the village where I used to live and planned on picking my life up where I left off. The next day, I woke up to familiar sounds of coughing and grasping for air. People had lined up for me to help them. I didn't know what was happening, and the poor villagers informed me that they were dying every minute from the disease that just struck. I quickly started making my magical recipe that had worked in the forest and tried to save my fellow villagers. Suddenly, as I was caught up in my work, I didn't see the gang of angry rich people who came to pick me up and carry me away. I heard the chanting of witch and traitor and she can't be in the right mindset to lead the rich lifestyle. I figured they must have been mad that I helped my friends, but they were really coming to get me since they thought I was insane and a witch sent from the devil. I didn't try to fight the gang because I knew this day would come, as it always comes. It is just the cycle of the wise woman. The rich get jealous and make up excuses why we need to die. I thought by saving the prince everything would change, but came to the understanding that the rich will always get their way. I was carried to my final destination. I saw the gallows and heard the people chanting. They thought I was going to set a curse on them, so they needed to kill me quickly. The executioner tied the noose around my neck, and I was just waiting for the trapdoor to open below me. Countdown to my death had begun when the king yelled, "Stop!" And I opened my eyes to see the king with the queen passed out on the ground. I just wanted this to be all over with when the executioner untied the noose. I thought about escaping, but realized that would be impossible. The king came up and asked me for forgiveness and if I would please save the queen. I didn't really have a choice and told him, why not? I mixed up the leaves and cockroaches and everything I had put in the medicine before and stuck it in her mouth. Everyone waited in anticipation until the queen slowly opened her eyes. I had saved her! The king expressed his apologies and thankfulness for me and announced to the entire civilization that the two classes were now equal and both would have the same access to medical care. He also asked if I would take my place back as the head doctor in the castle, and I politely accepted his offer. The end.